Good day. Welcome to the August plot tour. Well, plots actually, not plot, because at the moment, even though these two plots are next to each other, they are two plots. They're numbered as 6 and 6A. So 6 is the one that we got last October, and 6A is the one behind me this side that we've had for 4 years. But come October, with the renewals of our tenancies, the two plots are being put back together as one plot, and it will just be plot 6, which is great. It's really good to know that plots are being put back together rather than always just being split up. So yeah, that's great. Where are we? We're, I think, the 11th of August. I believe we did our July tour about 3/4 of the way through July. So we're now only about 2.5, 3 weeks on from where we were. So not a huge amount has changed, but of course there have been some changes. So I'll show you round and start where I normally start. One thing I do want to say, it is so dry. I mean, we're due thunder and lightning later today and later this week, and we're due heavy rains, and I know some places in the UK have had heavy rains yesterday and flooding as well, which of course is terrible. But we here in West London are absolutely parched and bone dry still. There's a lot of watering going on, and one of the challenges that I've had, which I'll come on to when we do the tomatoes, is watering the tomatoes in the grow bags. But anyway, let's crack on and go down to the corner where we always start. So we're at the corner of the plot. The lavender is being enjoyed by bees, mainly honey bees, and also there's a cabbage white at the top there, which is fluttering about, enjoying it as well. So this area is the area that I think is going to be the next area to be sorted. And what I have decided to do, because we found a frog in a collected water patch here, and a toad it was over under these panels where it was wet, I've decided that I'm going to put a pond somewhere around here, maybe here, or maybe there. But there's going to be a small pond around there. And then I'm going to bring the barrel that we'll see later, the half barrel that we have, and place it at the front here. So this pond will effectively be above ground because it's a half barrel pond. But the one that I put in around here, I'm not sure how I'm going to make it quite yet, but it's going to be in the ground effectively. What I have noticed, and I haven't done so far, but I normally do each first visit of the day, is top these areas up with water from a watering can that's been left overnight, because that is evaporating quickly at the moment, and there's a frog there, so we want to keep it damp. Right, these cardoons are really beginning to go over. You can see, if I come in, even though there's quite a lot of purple, there's a browning where the flowers are dying off. And so they go from that purple. I mean, there's still bees. You come around there. Still bees looking for honey, not for honey, for nectar. But once they've lost the purple, they go to this stage, and then this stage where they go brown, and then down to this stage. That's a bag of compost that was in the compost pile. I will be opening that up in the next couple of weeks to see how it has done. It was in the old pallet bin composter, but was so full of weeds that I decided to put it into here. And leave it for 4 to 6 months, and it's sort of at 4 months now, so I'm going to have a look at it in the next few weeks. Our rose, which needs a bit of deadheading, is still putting in some flowers, and what's gorgeous is that there's plenty of flowers coming on this new growth down here, which I'm really pleased about, because all of this new growth, I want that to grow up, because we're going to start taking some of these old bits of growth out over the coming years. It's so dry, the nettles have really started dying back already. And this is our compost bins. Yeah, they're doing quite well at the moment. The comfrey, which I put in there, I've made more comfrey tea out of, and I'll be looking at that in a week at the plot video in a few weeks' time. Right, let's go back over and start looking at what we have growing, and also what we don't really have growing as well. 2 of these cosmos, there's 4 in there. 2 have started flowering, as you can see, and 2 at the moment are still in their bushy stage. We have some Rocquencourt dwarf beans at the front there, Beurre de Rocquencourt. And then this bed is spare squash, but you can see that it went in late and it's really taking its time to get going. I think maybe this one, and this one here will get away. They are all flowering, so we might get a squash. There's a bee in that one. I'm not sure if you can see that. There's a bee in there. So we might get a squash, but you know what? It's not a good year for us, the squash, this year. In between, I have planted perpetual spinach. So I've got about 8 lots of perpetual spinach in here, which will take over from the squash when they come out. Celeriac. Our celeriac is doing okay. I think you can see there is a little ball forming at the end there, end of my finger. Keeping that nice and moist. And the amount of wood chip on the top here from the Ealing Riding Stables compost is really helping moisture retention below, so that's great. I notice there's need a lot of weeding. There's bindweed in there, so yeah, weeding to do. And this is a young ewe that we have. Right, let me go this way. Another bee there enjoying that cosmos. Weeding needs to be done, but here's a oregano which has grown up, so I'm going to leave that in and most probably move it in the autumn. Right, this is our chard, and it's finally got going. But as with all things, sometimes when things get going, they really get going. And that one, as you can see, is red stemmed and it's going to seed, which is a shame. But the good thing is that all the rest here are doing well. But what I am going to be doing is sowing further seeds in these gaps quite closely, because I want to fill in any of those gaps with a later sowing. Right, these are our strawberries, which did quite well this year, but I'm not seeing any sign really of runners. I do want to propagate these because they're such a good variety, but I can't see any runners coming yet. Fingers crossed we do get some, and then I can do some propagation. These are 3 tomatoes that I found and I've just put them in. Our brassica bed, our Brussels sprouts which are here, are doing quite well. I'm not sure if you can see in there, but there's sprouts forming down the stems. So all of the sprouts are doing well. In fact, the brassicas are now starting to really pick up. We did have this cauliflower a few weeks ago, which was delicious. And there is another cauliflower over there. Cavallo Nero at the front, the same as some that I have given away to others, and the ones I've given away to others are twice the size of those. Isn't that typical? Then in the middle here, we've got Nero di Toscana and purple sprouting broccoli, and they are going to go in soon. But with the heat that we've got at the moment, I don't want to put them in quite yet. Further brassicas, these are broccoli, and the big one there is Portuguese cabbage. As you know, if you've been watching us, I have been feeding all the soil with a liquid fertilizer, a general liquid fertilizer, just to get the nutrient level up. Then, oh, look at this sunflower. Lovely. Then beans. Gosh, you can see the sort of mixed growing. I mean, some are at the top, some are sort of nowhere near the top, and then these over there in the middle are, they were our asparagus. Are they asparagus bean? Yeah, the asparagus bean, but didn't grow, so I put borlotti in there, which I hope are going to grow. But beans are forming. Our gigantes have been incredibly slow, but are beginning to form, though it looks as though they're forming this year with just one seed in each pod. Don't know if you can see that. There's another one back there. Oh no, there's two there. Look, there's two there. Very slow. They're being well watered, but I am noticing, look at this, they're either not being pollinated or just not getting enough water. But some are coming. Then we have a selection of beans down here, which are for drying. I think those, I can't remember what those are. I think actually, I thought these were Coco de Pampol, but I think it's actually Blue Lake. In fact, it is, because this came up to about here, was attacked by black fly and sort of fell down. So what I thought was a front sowing at the front of Coco de Pampol, this is actually Blue Lake. So there's different sowings of Blue Lake. This is Blue Lake as well. And then this is where we have we've got Coco de Pampol at the front. Then we've got the asparagus bean, which has been in but not grown. And then at the back, you can see is flowering, is borlotti, which I put in as additional planting. Again, I need to get in there. Look at those weeds. Hey ho. Runners. Shaz's runners are doing really well. We have runners when they're about this size, so maybe 6-7 inches, and then when they get to this size, sort of bigger than that, we leave them and we have the bean as a dried bean for chilies over the winter. Right, on the other side we have the Madeira Maroon, which are thin French beans and are absolutely gorgeous. They're stringless and they're lovely and waxy. And what we are doing is picking them, so we do need to pick them, but we're also leaving some larger ones like here We're leaving those for save seed for next year. They are one of our favourite beans, Madeira Maroon. More sunflowers. I've dotted them around the plot this year. We've got some chicory, which is being enjoyed by an insect, which has just flown off. The verbascum is well over now, with seeds in there, which is lovely. Further runners here. Then the Madeira Maroon. Then we go to, I can't remember, but that's a nice stringless French bean as well. And then at the front, we have Rocquencourt, Beurre de Rocquencourt again. There's a spider on it there. These are fantastic yellow beans. What I'm going to be doing shortly is this one over here has produced incredibly well and continues to produce. So actually, I'm now going to put a red ribbon on here and leave that as save seed for next year. And then this one is Coco Sophie, which I think I need to harvest those. So that is one where you eat the bean rather than the pod. And then back to runner beans again. This side seems to be a bit greener than the other side, but there's not many pods. I mean, there's so many flowers. Look at those flowers. I mean, just glorious flowers. Hey ho. Right. We have 4 types of beetroot, all modular sown. So we have Burpees Golden, we have Solo, we have Monetta, and we have De Chioggia. All of those are doing okay. The ones over here have been grubbed up a bit by Fennel, and then snowball turnips. That's what's over there. Here are my watering cans that I leave out. I fill them up at night and I leave them out so that any chlorine gas can escape and any other gases can escape. And then I use this for topping up our little wildlife ponds and wildlife areas. Right, roots bed. Carrots have been a challenge this year. There has been 3 sowings in here, but the other challenge has been that Fennella, our fox, is using this as a bed. So there's another carrot that has bitten the dust because of Fenella's snoozing. Hey ho. These are Autumn King carrots, by the way, in here. The Guernsey half-long parsnips are doing well, and I did put my finger down and know that they are beginning to form small shoulders. So they're doing well, which I'm pleased about. Then our mint, which you will have seen in a week at the plot. Oh, and look, we have, can you see that hoverfly? It's gone underneath. Can you see that hoverfly there? No, there. Look at that. Lovely. There's another one there. Hoverflies are, all flies are good in the garden, but hoverflies particularly so. Right, our tomatoes. A mixed bag, I think it's fair to say. Bag being the operative word. It's been so difficult and continues to be so difficult to keep on top of the watering of these bags. It's been so hot, they've been evaporating and growing, and the water's just been used up quickly. I'm putting between 3 and 5 litres into each bag each day, but you can see by this Roma that having been watered about noon yesterday, it's beginning to look a bit droopy again now. Hey ho. But we are getting tomatoes. These are Crimson Crush, which are F1, which I don't normally do. They've come nice and early. And then let's just move around. The Marmande, which are, those are beginning to colour up. I love Marmande tomatoes and they are doing well. I'm pleased with those. We have a little cherry here that is looking good and strong and is forming nice little clusters of cherry tomatoes. There's only one down there. And then we have this Mille Fleur, which is literally producing thousands of flowers, but setting very little fruit. I don't think I'll do those again next year. Where this cherry one, depending upon how it tastes, I think I will be doing. Yeah. Right, carrying on down, we have a mix of red ox heart here moving into Amish paste. And I think it's interesting to look at the leaves, because Vivi was mentioning this the other day. The leaves of the Amish paste are really droopy. They come close to the stem and droop down. Someone did actually say to me when I commented on it the other day that it's because they work better in heat and it covers up the tomato. And I have to say, the tomatoes, the Amish paste tomatoes we do have coming on here are doing pretty well. There's a few colouring up in there, you can just see. If I come around, go away Miss Wasp, I've got a wasp on the camera. If I come around here, these are red ox heart, and I'm finding a few issues with sunburn. Look at that. How the sun has burnt. Which is a shame, because some of the other ones we have, these are red ox heart too, are really looking good and colouring up well. But the ones here, not quite sure. They've all got a bit of sunburn on them. Hey ho. Right, our butternuts. I mean, yeah. Okay, so they're having some flowers. Look, that bee in there is loving that one in there. But butternuts, yeah, just all of them are just bad. I've had a very difficult couple of years with butternuts. Not quite sure why. Right, our chicory and Marvel of Four Seasons, and can't remember what this one is. These have finally started growing. I mean, these are about 8 weeks old. These are 8 weeks since sowing, and they've just started growing in the last few days. Hey ho. And then this is our sort of cuttings bench. I was saying to somebody we have some rhubarb plants that we grew from seed, and those are them there. So yeah, cuttings. Or in fact, all of these are now plants rather than cuttings. I'll take you to the cuttings bench. Oh, look at that. See that caterpillar? I'm going to have to look that up. I don't know what type of caterpillar that is. It's sort of got a yellowy green stripe down its back, and this is its head. There's a little horn there. Not sure if you can pick up that horn. I'm not sure. And it's got red dots down the side of that yellow stripe, and it's got yellow stripe underneath as well. I'm going to have to look that up. Right. Our herb bed is doing okay. Unfortunately, our bean got munched on, our sword bean got munched on by Fenella's offspring, Felicity. She bit this bit off, but fortunately it started growing again from here. Right, sunflowers, which are coming out quite slowly but nicely. Our fruit bed, where the raspberries have been quite nice this year, but it is their first year. And of course they're in buckets. The flower bed, glorious for a couple of months, really needs water. Obviously the poppies have all gone to seed now, and the Celia, which is this one, have gone to seed, and the umbellifers, which are the carrot-like ones, have gone to seed. What I do need to think about next year is summer colour, and I think we're going to put more crocosmia in and some gladioli, but any suggestions for summer colour, preferably wildlife flowers, would be great. Right, some, is it chamomile at the front? It's California poppy there, and then these are our Luz de Otono autumn harvesting broad beans, which are doing well. Most are 14 inches high, some are onto almost 2 foot. Can't quite see any flowers yet. Oh no, I thought I saw a flower, but I can't. So fingers crossed that these do flower soon. The bed needs a bit of a weed. Everything needs a bit of a weed. Our wildlife camera, I've taken the card out of that, and I'll be looking at that later to see if we caught anything. This rhubarb has just come back from nothing in the last month. I mean, literally, it was down to the ground and I thought it was dying, but no, it's back. And then, if you haven't been watching A Week at the Plot, I found an additional washing up bowl. So we now have 2 washing up bowl ponds, one in the ground and one above. And what I am going to do is in the winter, I'm going to put this into the ground. But the reason that I filled it up with water is because we had so much pondweed in here that I've taken pondweed out to put there. We need to have as many pond plants as possible because of the amount of water we're going to have on this plot next year. So effectively, by taking pond plants out of here and putting them into here, not only is it cleaning the water here, but it's also propagating the pond plants, which is great. Brassicas, kale 1000 head, and some Brussels sprouts and some Portuguese cabbage. Next time I will take the netting off these so that we can have a good look at them. And then moving over, these are our cheeky prints. A few are beginning to form, but you know what? It's really, really slow. And oddly, all of them have got a spreading habit. These are all from the same squash. All of them have got the same spreading habit, apart from this one, which has got a bushing habit about it. So if I come over here, we do have a small squash forming there. And then if you can see in there, can you see in the middle, that yellow one? Interesting, all from the same seed from the same squash. That one's coming up yellow. This one's coming up green. And there's another one, I'm not sure if you can see in the gap there, which again is coming up yellow. Right, this is wildlife area underneath this ceanothus. This is the barrel that I was talking about earlier that we're going to put at the front. And we were sent a pond liner and a liner for a pond liner by somebody. We don't know who, but whoever sent us that, thank you very, very much. And I'm going to use that to line this water butt or barrel and put it at the front by the artichokes, cardoon. I've put pallets under there as a sort of little bit of a shelter. And then we're going to use a preformed pond liner to put in here over the winter months. Again, bringing further water and wildlife in. I will be cutting this ceanothus back. It does need a good prune. But it is such a fantastic plant when it flowers, called a California lilac. Right, this is our courgette bed, and also it's had lots of sunflowers. I'm noticing a few squirrels now out and about, and this, I believe, is squirrel damage. So the squirrel climbs up there and then it gets too heavy and it breaks and plops down. I think we'll be taking that home. Borlotti, we've got borlotti beans forming quite nicely. Just got 6 in there. And you see that these yellow zucchini, as they're called, that's the name, yellow zucchini. They've done really well. We've had plenty of those. They go through a sort of bit of a gap where there's maybe 4 or 5 days of nothing, and then they all come back again. And here we have flowers from our outrageous lettuce, which we're letting go to seed so that we can save seed from those. Right, our flower bed is incredibly dry. I'm sort of letting that one just do its thing, but giving it a water every now and again. Moving on. Oh, I've just noticed a few lettuce. Gosh. So these are our fennel, Florence fennel, and they are doing well. These have been transplanted from modules. I hope they come true. And I'm leaving sort of 2, mainly. If there are 2, I'm leaving 2, but most of these I think are singles. And then at the edge here we have parsley. Then coming over here, really poor germination on a further sowing of autumn king carrots. I think you can maybe see one there, but really poor germination. It has been well watered, so I don't think it's the lack of moisture and too much heat, but I'm going to have to sow again. And then more parsley there as well. And then if I come over this way, I've noticed these 2 lettuce. There's a lettuce there and a lettuce there, which have self-seeded. Right, our cuttings bench. I took cuttings from a rose that was in the laurel at the side of our house. The laurel has been cut down in the last week, and I wanted to try and get some plants from a beautiful rambling rose that was going through the laurel. So those are all cuttings. And these, if you've seen A Week at the Plot, you'll know are thornless blackberry cuttings. Some of them are looking a bit droopy, others are looking quite nice and strong. So fingers crossed. Then we have further tomatoes. various different ones. These went in about 3 weeks later than the ones in the grow bags, and they're a few weeks behind, but they're so much stronger and so much greener. This really is the difference, I think, between plants being in the ground and in grow bags, even if they're being well fertilized in the grow bags with liquid tomato feed. So yeah, a mixture in here. I need to do some tomato cares with these because, as you can see, they need additional winding around the string to make sure they're supported. Nice flowers there forming. And then at the bottom, I have some lettuce. I actually bought some organic lettuce plants, 4 types. Need to weed again. That'll be this afternoon. Well, actually, it'll be tomorrow morning. I bought 4 types of lettuce, mainly because we had no lettuce really. So we did really well for lettuce in the up to about middle of July, and then everything started bolting and going to seed. Beetroot, modular sown beetroot, being incredibly slow, but we're now starting to harvest. The greener one is Burpees Golden, and the one in the middle is Crappledine, but we haven't had any Crappledine yet. But the Burpees Golden, you see at the back, are looking quite nice and golden. More seed. I don't know what that caterpillar is in there. Don't know if you can see that. There's a caterpillar in there. Beetroot, these are Detroit. We've started to harvest those. And then again, more lettuce plants that we put in a few weeks ago. Right. I'm going to be putting some of those Marvel of 4 Seasons into here. Along the front, that's the lettuce that I showed you in the modules. A romaine lettuce that again we're saving seeds from. And then we've got a few cos lettuce that we're still harvesting. And then cucumbers. Odd. These 2 at the end are nice and green. These 3, which were doing really well, have sort of stopped and are going yellow. I have fed them, but they're still going yellow. Not quite sure why. Yet those there seem quite nice and green. More water, more feeding, and then we'll see what happens. Right. Finally for today anyway, these are our early potatoes of Rocket, which we are harvesting. And then these are our Christmas potatoes of Rocket. So these were potato seeds that I found, I'd completely forgotten about. I potted them up about maybe 12 days ago, and they're doing well. So I will be topping those up with further compost. Oh, but so dry. Look how dry that is. These are our Cara potatoes that, yeah, have we'll be harvesting those, leaving those, but sort of harvesting them soon as well. Horse bedding and poo, which will be going into our hot bin composter very soon. In fact, once I've done this. And then look at this sedum. I love sedum. Such an amazing plant. It's sort of quite dinosaur-like, I think. But I really do love it. And it will, of course, go a pinky tinge as we get towards the winter months, and will be quite glorious. Oh, I missed a bed. There's a plane going over. This is our Portuguese cabbage bed. We're going to start harvesting from this bed very soon. And in fact, I will be uncovering this bed pretty soon as well. Maybe in about, well, maybe the beginning of September. Then just let them all grow on. We don't normally get pigeon damage on these because they grow quite tall over the winter months and they're not that sturdy at the top for pigeons to land on. So yeah, I will be uncovering them, but of course at the moment we have quite a lot of cabbage whites which would love these. So that is the tour. I need to do weeding. I need to cut off some of the sunflowers that have been damaged by squirrels and see if I can take them home. I will continue hoping that the squash, Cheeky Prince squash, will do well. Hoping. But yeah, what a mixed year. What a mixed year. I think so far the things that have done the best for us have been broad beans. And these broad beans, these Luz de Otono broad beans, seem to be following in the footsteps of the ones that overwintered. Anyway, I'll leave it there and see you in 3 or 4 weeks for the September tour. Bye.